Begin in our constructive resting pose, lying down face up on our mat. Maybe a little cushion behind the head if you'd like. Pillow, rolled up blanket. We'll bring our feet a little bit wide. Letting our knees just gently lean in toward each other. And our hands today can be resting maybe on our belly, or maybe our arms can be out by our sides with our palms facing up. Just kind of deciding if we want a little bit more of a kind of a nurturing sort of posture where we're kind of holding ourselves close. Maybe that's what we need today. A little bit of comfort and nurturing, or maybe a little bit of openness would feel good. And so we can just bring the arms out by our sides with the palms facing up. And if we're not sure, maybe we try them both and just see which one feels better. We allow ourselves to sink into the floor here, making any movements or adjustments, wiggling things, fingers, toes, ankles. So just settle in, checking in with our bodies today, bringing all of our awareness to our bodies here now in this place. We allow ourselves, as we start to notice our breath, to just let go of whatever else might be going on off of these mats we're on. Whatever arrangements we maybe had to make or preparations to make this time for ourselves here. Taking just a moment to acknowledge whatever effort that may have been. Even just the practice of logging into the computer sometimes feels like a lot of work. But whatever it took to get us here, we're here now. I'm grateful for that effort, I'm grateful for this time here. And so rewarding ourselves with allowing this time to be exactly what we need it to be. Allowing all of those busy things in our lives to be on pause for the next hour or so. And just spending some time checking in with ourselves, our own body, our own breath. So we can start just by becoming very aware of our own breath. And maybe even taking our hands, if they're not already, and letting them rest on the belly. Or maybe kind of resting on the ribs and the belly, just somewhere in that torso region. And maybe just having that sensation, that direct experience of the body breathing, feeling the belly rise with each inhale and the belly fall with each exhale. Feeling that tiny bit of resistance as the belly rises against the hands that are just resting there, the weight of gravity. But connecting to the breath in a way that's really intentional. As we start to lengthen each breath, taking a little bit longer to breathe in and a little bit longer to breathe out. You can notice how the body moves, how the body breathes itself. Feeling that breath really expansive. And on our exhale, really feeling that release. A sense of letting go of everything that we don't need anymore. It served its purpose. We're done. Letting it go. And then noticing the space that that allows for the new to come in. And sort of playing with the idea that letting go of that breath doesn't mean it was bad. It wasn't. It was great. Served its purpose, filled our lungs, oxygenated our blood. But it's done its job. We can let it go and make room for what's next. Fresh, new air, new oxygen. We'll continue our deep breaths, but leaving our breath, just the attention to our breath just a little bit. Let's bring the soles of our feet together. Our hands can stay resting on the belly or the torso or the hips, or maybe bringing them out by our sides, and just gently letting our feet come together and our knees gently float towards the floor, bound angle or butterfly pose. And just taking a moment here to exhale, letting the hips relax as much as feels okay. Releasing any tension, trying to release any involuntary protective muscles, keeping ourselves from opening here. On our next inhale, let's gently and slowly bring the knees back into the center, keeping the soles of the feet together. The knees don't have to come all the way back together, just allowing them to come together until the feet start to peel apart. So let that be our guide. And then as we exhale, slowly, the full length of the exhale, let the knees open up. Inhaling, letting the knees gently come in. Exhaling, letting the knees release back to the floor. A very gentle, slow flapping of the wings of the butterfly. And if we want to take a couple of breaths to let the knees move through this range of motion, we can. We don't have to move even as fast as our breath, but not moving any faster. So if maybe we take an inhale and an exhale as we release to the floor, or as we bring the knees in, that's completely fine too. Maybe intentionally being slow with our movement here, noticing maybe some fatigue through the hip flexors, those muscles across the front of the hips, maybe a little effort or fatigue through the inner thighs, maybe even a little bit of a quiver, a shaking, and all those things are normal and they're okay. If at any point we want to just rest and let the legs go straight, we can. But just allowing for this release through the hips, kind of fatiguing these muscles to allow them to let go a little bit. So as muscle can hold onto a lot of tension, a lot of stress, or holding onto some difficult emotions, our body naturally kind of curls in a protective way or kind of braces ourselves on high alert, ready for a fight or to run if we need to. And so this practice is just an opportunity or a time to release those hip flexor muscles, allowing them to get tired enough that they can't hold on anymore. So if you feel like you've gotten to that point where they're tired enough, you can just rest with the legs straight, shaking out from the hips. But if it feels okay, maybe we'll flow the knees in just a few more times. one more time here. And if we notice any quivering or shaking or movement in the body, that's okay. Just allowing that little bit of release. You can release those legs down. Just let those legs go straight. Maybe a little shake out from the hips. We can always bend our knees into our constructive resting pose if that feels better on the back. But if it feels okay just to lie flat here, taking a moment here just to let the hips rest open. Breathing in, breathing out, maybe coming back to that breath. Maybe the hands come back to the belly if you'd like to, or maybe it feels good just to rest openly. And then we'll bring your attention back to the hips and legs. If they're relaxed, maybe kind of open, just kind of engage through the inner thighs a little bit so that our toes are pointed up towards the sky. Our legs are active here. We're kind of pressing through the heels just a little bit, just to bring some dynamic tension back into the legs. With our arms down by our sides, we can extend them up overhead. Now we can point our toes here if we'd like to, or we can press through the heel. We'll have the opportunity to flex and point the ankles, the stretch through the ankles. But first, just a big stretch through the front of the body. So maybe pointing the toes and reaching the fingertips overhead. We'll take a deep breath in as we exhale. Let's bring one knee into the chest as the arms come down by our sides. Inhaling, extending long. Exhaling, opposite knee into the chest. And we can keep the ankle flexed here, or we can kind of point it as we go long and flex it as we draw the knee in, just getting some movement through the ankle if we'd like to. Just so we're intentional with the movement in our leg. It's not flinging up and flinging down. It's slowly and with control drawing in those hip flexor muscles. A little more active now after that release. And we can keep everything right here just as it is, or if you'd like to add just a little bit of movement and sensation through the abdominals, we can tuck the chin slightly as we come up, doing just a little bit of an abdominal crunch as we draw the knee in and the arms down. Inhaling long, lengthening the body. Exhaling, arms down by our sides, deepen with the option to curl up gently. We tuck the chin to the chest first to just protect through the neck. Engaging those neck muscles for support as we do our gentle curl here, maybe noticing some warmth through the belly, through the abdominal muscles. Big exhale as we lift. Inhaling, releasing. One more time here so we feel even on each side. And we can just exhale when we're finished. Arms down by our sides. Let's bend the knees here a little bit wide, and just some movement here, some windshield wipers, releasing through the hips and the lower back. Taking our time here. Back into the center. And we'll just slowly start to roll onto our side, pressing ourselves up to seated. And as we come to seated, sitting comfortably and tall, we can always sit up on a blanket if we want to elevate the hips. Noticing how the hips might feel after that release. Maybe they feel more open and we don't need that blanket today. Or maybe we do. So as we come into just an easy seated position, rolling the shoulders up and down and back. And breathing in and breathing out. You can start to just rotate through the torso here. Allowing that pendulum of our torso to get started and then allowing it to find its own path. And as we close our eyes, maybe here if that's comfortable, or if not, just letting our gaze be soft. Allowing our body really just to move on its own. Thinking about this rotation today being just really fluid. Really not trying to make anything happen at all here, not trying to guide it, just let the body go. And start to go the other direction, coming gently to a pause and then starting that pendulum the other way. And ease back into the center here. Just roll the shoulders up and down and back. Maybe some big shoulder rolls here. Maybe one at a time, or maybe we can keep them together. Big breaths here. Maybe even kind of a big sigh out the mouth. You can relax his arms down. Open and close through the fingers, some movement here. Maybe at the same time making some fists with our toes. And we can make some fists and just rotate through the wrists here. Gentle movement, finding a nice full range of motion both directions. Flex and extend the wrists. We can stay with the rotation here, just continuing to move a little bit, lubricating those wrist and hand and finger joints, or we can shake it out a little bit if we'd like, kind of making a choice here which one we would like to do. Maybe we have a favorite. Maybe wrists are a little sore today and just some rotation feels better. Either way, just breathing in, breathing out. Maybe if we're shaking some of those big audible exhalations through the mouth. Letting go of whatever we don't need, including just that extra breath. And then letting the hands just rest down comfortably, palms up or down, just whatever feels right for you here. And on our next inhale, let's sweep the arms overhead. Exhaling, letting them float back down by our sides. As we move with our breath here, just starting to move and warm up through the shoulders. And we're on our backs. We did some forward flexion and extension of the shoulders. And so here now we're just kind of coming out to the side, a circle sweep, a little bit of rotation. We can change the directions of our palms, turning them up and down, rotating through the shoulders as we go. We can keep the elbows a little bit soft if we'd like to. Let's exhale the arms down here. On an inhale, we'll just bring one arm up, alternating as we go. Doesn't matter where we start. We'll exhale back down. Just flowing with our breath here. Inhaling up, lengthening through the side body, and then just a gentle bend to the side, lateral flexion here. Taking our time as we move with our breath. One more time on each side. And we'll bring that arm down by our side. Taking a couple of breaths here and then moving into a rotation. So on a nice inhale, we can sweep the arms overhead. We'll rotate gently through the spine, lengthening as we go from the navel up towards the crown. Inhaling to center, exhaling the other way. If we find ourselves in our rotation and want to hold that for a couple of breaths, we can. Just not pulling, not forcing anything, just wherever the torso brings us in the rotation. Maybe we want to just continue to flow with our breath, and that's fine too. Switching sides whenever it feels right, if we're holding maybe for 2 or 3 breaths. And if we're flowing, just inhaling center and exhaling rotation. Maybe one more time on each side, a couple of more breaths, evening things out. Exhaling back into the center and just taking a moment here to pause, to check in, to find our breath. Find our way now to our hands and our knees. And we're going to be on our knees for a little bit, so if you'd like a blanket under the knees, go ahead and make time for that now. And we'll start on our hands and knees just for cat and cow flow here, with our knees stacked under our hips and our wrists below our shoulders. Inhaling, dropping the belly, swaying the back, looking forward. Exhaling, rounding the back, tucking the chin to the chest in cat. As we move with our breath here, moving the full length of the spine. Feeling the shoulder blades drawing together as we drop the belly in cow. And feeling that space expanding between the shoulder blades as we lift into cat. We'll flow twice more through each, moving the full length of the spine each time. Pressing into the floor through the palms. We'll come to a neutral spine when we're finished, taking our time, no rush. As we meet there with a neutral spine, lengthening the spine on an inhale as we exhale, turning to look back behind us. Lateral flexion of the spine, a side bend here, also a little bit of movement through the hips. Inhaling to the center, swaying, bending side to side. We'll ease back into the center when we feel even on both sides. We'll find our way into a child's pose. Coming into child's pose, maybe a block under the forehead, maybe we widen our knees. And letting the forehead come to rest on the floor or our block. Maybe the hips stay a little bit higher, just finding a really comfortable child's pose for you. Arms can be extended or relaxed or maybe wrapped around by our sides. Let's notice the hips here in child's pose. Noticing if there's any tightness or any tension. And maybe we want to make an adjustment for that. Maybe widening the knees, maybe lifting the hips up a little bit. Or maybe we can just kind of breathe into that tightness and notice if there's any extra tension there that we can release. And just breathing and relaxing and finding a place in child's pose that feels really restful. Let's come up onto our hands and knees here. And we'll just slide both hands over to one side, coming into a kneeling lunge. So we can just bring one foot forward. If we have a couple of blocks, we can place them to either side of that front foot. If we only have one block, it can be on the big toe side. If we don't have any blocks, we can maybe use a wall or a chair or some sort of support just for some balance, and the other hand can rest on the thigh. If we have one block, same thing. Hand can rest on the thigh, maybe fingertips to the floor. We want to give ourselves some space to not have to reach to the floor though, if we can. Just flowing our lunge here. Some movement through the hip flexors. Finding our own pace as we flow forward and back. As we come forward, lengthening the spine here through that back hip flexor. And then kind of leaning into this front one too. So some extension through the back, some flexion through the front. And then as we come back, our toe can come up, lengthening through the hamstring in the back of this leg. Kind of getting both the front and the back part of the body. We also may notice as we come forward, the glute on the back leg. So we're lengthening across the front of the hip. If we engage through that glute, kind of squeezing the glute a little bit on that back leg, we may notice we feel a little bit more through the front of that hip. So giving ourselves the opportunity to notice those sensations, maybe activate a little bit more to feel a little bit more if we want to. And if not, we can just gently flow, moving here. Continue to flow here, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 more times. You can pause at the front or the back if you'd like to, or we can just flow through. When we're finished, just coming back to neutral. And we can bring both hands to the inside of the big toe, supporting ourselves on the floor or blocks here. We can walk our foot back, around, and maybe taking time to just kind of stretch and move through that leg if we'd like to. Forward, back, maybe some little hip circles, whatever feels good here. Other leg. And stretch and extend too. Just checking in with your body. Before switching sides here, we can bring our hands over to one side, opposite foot comes forward. Setting up for a kneeling lunge here. And giving ourselves whatever support, balance support under the hands, or maybe again holding onto a wall, so that we have room to kind of lift through this through the chest, lengthening the spine as we start to flow forward and back. And just starting to explore the sensation as we begin. Noticing any tightness or tension, flowing right up to that edge of sensation, and then maybe breathing into it a little bit and then flowing out of it. Looks like we're just dipping our toe in and getting a little bit more each time. Noticing sensation when we engage through the glute of the back leg as we come forward. There's maybe a little more opening through the front of the hip when we do. Recognizing that the front and the back of the body work in kind of in a yin and yang kind of situation. While one is lengthening, the other side is strengthening, and the strengthening is what helps to lengthen the other side. Front and the back of the body working in partnership. And again, we can choose to stay for a couple of breaths in either place if we'd like to, or we can just flow through, moving with our breath, maybe moving even a little slower than our breath. We'll flow a few more times here. Finished, just coming back to neutral with that lunge. We can bring both hands to the inside of the big toe and walk that front foot back. And then again, maybe just kind of moving, stretching here, stretching the back leg, each leg out to the back. And maybe sitting back once again into child's pose here. If that feels good for you. If not, just keep moving and stretching, but maybe sinking into child's pose, maybe noticing if the hips feel a little looser. Let's come up onto our hands and knees. If we have a blanket under our knees, we can move it. We can kind of keep it to the side if we want to, depending on how firm the floor you're on is. We may want to keep it for extra cushioning. We're going to come into a single-legged frog pose. So if we were going into a full frog pose, we would have our knees really wide, our feet out like a frog out to the side, and potentially be flat, almost like we would be doing the splits here, which that's about as far down as I would get to the floor. But in theory, the pelvis could be all the way on the floor there. That's not super accessible for some people, including myself. So we're going to do a single leg frog. So we're just going to come to lying down on our belly. And if this doesn't feel good, we can do it upside down also. So just to give you an idea of an upside down option, could be kind of a one leg happy baby with one leg straight and one leg out to the side. So that's an option too, if being on the belly doesn't feel good. But if we're coming to the belly, resting on the belly here, and let's keep one leg neutral and long, and then the opposite leg, just bringing the knee out to the side as high as feels comfortable. And then kind of flexing through that ankle. Not sure if y'all can see all the way over here. So flexing through the ankle, that's just going to help to protect the knee. And then we can rest our head on our hands, maybe turning the head to the side. And this is a pose we're just going to hold for a few breaths. So really allowing some time to relax into the posture, to relax the hip on the straight leg. We may notice it more on the straight leg. We may notice it more on the bent leg. And just breathing into any tightness or tension here in this big hip opener. This long held yin-like pose. Allowing ourselves space and time to really let the body relax and let go. Noticing where we might be holding on to any tension, any tightness. And sending our breath to those places, allowing them to release, to relax, to let go. We'll take 1 or 2 more deep breaths here. And then we can very carefully just start to come out of that, straightening that bent leg. Again, as we come onto our belly, maybe just resting neutral here, maybe moving and stretching the body in a way as it feels like it needs that. Then we'll go to switch sides. So maybe bringing our blanket, if we used one, over to the other side, allowing ourselves to lie flat here, and bringing the leg up as high as feels comfortable. The opposite leg straight, relaxing through that hip, relaxing through the spine, finding the head maybe to gently rest on the floor. And breathing into any tightness and tension here, and we may notice a different experience from one side to the other. So just allowing for what we feel and really noticing if we're holding on to tension anywhere. Continuing to breathe into any tension, any tightness. Noticing if maybe as one part of the body releases and lets go, maybe we start to notice a tightness somewhere else. And so knowing that we just send our calming, healing breath to that new place, allowing it to release as well. Noticing if tension starts to creep back in and allowing it to release also. And take about 3 more deep breaths. And very slowly start to ease that knee down. Maybe just coming to flat here on the belly. You can sit back into maybe a child's pose here. Our hands and knees, or if it feels okay to stay on the belly. We can just feel the belly as it expands, pressing into the floor. And this belly press practice can be really soothing to the nervous system also. If it's not for some reason, if it's uncomfortable or hard to breathe, we don't have to stay here at all. But if it feels okay, just to kind of feel the pressure of the floor against the belly. And we won't take the time today, but we can even enhance this practice by placing a blanket kind of right along just under the chest, kind of at the solar plexus area. Doing just a little bit more of that gentle press. Take 1 or 2 more deep breaths if you'd like. We'll all move into child's pose when we're finished. And slowly pressing ourselves up here, sitting back toward our heels, maybe the feet a little bit wide. And releasing into child's pose. And now with the knees wide, maybe noticing that space for the belly to rest. And start to make our way up to our hands and our knees. And we'll come around to seated and roll ourselves down lengthwise on our mat. Excuse me. As we roll ourselves down lengthwise on our mats, we can keep the knees a little bit bent. Maybe straighten the legs out, shake them out if we'd like to. Maybe hug the knees into the chest. And then coming into supported bridge. If we have a block, we can use our block. If we don't, we can use a rolled up blanket or maybe a pillow. And we'll bring the block or whatever we're using for our support and bring it so that it's underneath the sacrum to support the hips. So we'll start coming into bridge pose with our feet about hips width apart. Arms can be down by our sides, so we slowly and safely engage through the glutes, pressing into the floor, lifting the hips up into bridge, and then we can slide whatever we're using for our support under the hips, kind of right under the sacrum, the base of the spine, and then releasing back down. And when we release back down, we want to feel really neutral through the spine here. So if we notice kind of a sway in the back or the tailbone tucked in, we can just adjust that block forward or back so that it feels really neutral. And we can stay right here if we'd like to in our supported bridge. Also have the option of extending one leg long. Maybe we want to extend the arm long with it. Let's take a deep breath in. We'll exhale, bringing that arm back down. Slowly bringing the knee in and switching sides. And we can keep both knees bent here if we'd like to. We can keep just the leg long, maybe adding in the arm overhead as well. Breathing into any tightness through the hip, the psoas muscle connecting the lower body and the upper body. So if we think about where it's located, it connects to the thigh bone, the upper part of the thigh bone, goes across the hip, kind of under the ribs, and attaches at the spine, at kind of the mid-back spine. So lengthening through that psoas muscle here. We've done a lot to release it and fatigue it. Now just kind of letting it release and lengthen. Take a deep breath here. Bringing that arm down, we can slowly start to draw that knee back in. We can stay here with our feet flat on the floor, knees bent, maybe taking the option to bring the feet up if we'd like to here. Still feeling the sacrum supported. If we notice we need support in a little bit different place, we can make an adjustment. Maybe the legs straight up, kind of a waterfall, and modify legs up the wall position. Maybe the knees feel better tucked in here. Gently start to tuck the knees in. And slowly, maybe one at a time, bringing the feet to the floor. Rooting down through the feet, engaging through the glutes to carefully lift the hips up. Slide the block out of the way as we release to the floor. And we can choose here if we want to go to knees to chest, or maybe straighten the legs out long. Maybe curling in feels right, maybe lengthening feels right. So finding whichever one works for you, and maybe both. Then we'll come into just a gentle windshield wiper, kind of widening our knees here as we slowly lower both knees to one side. A wide spinal twist here. If we prefer, we can always keep the knees closer together, feet stacked. Maybe for today, just seeing how it feels to have kind of a wide windshield wiper twist. Just noticing how that, especially that top knee feels. If we feel any tension there, we can make an adjustment. Releasing any effort, any tension, both legs completely relaxed. Gently bring the knees back into the center. We'll take our time and slowly lowering them the other way. Gently start to bring the knees back into the center. Moving and stretching any way that you'd like to before settling in for final relaxation. So taking the time to adjust, move, stretch, and then settling in, getting really comfortable for this final relaxation. Maybe something behind the knees, something behind the head, a blanket over top. So you can really sink into relaxation here. And you begin to settle in, making any adjustments that you'd like to, and then when you find that stillness, just feeling the body heavily sinking towards the floor. And beginning to notice the breath. As you notice the breath in the body feeling heavy, body relaxed. As we feel our body relaxing into the surface that's supporting us. Feeling a sense of gratitude, love for this body that we have. And feeling our hearts open in love toward ourselves and toward others. And I'd like to share a meditation on loving kindness. This meditation uses words and images and feelings to evoke a loving kindness and friendliness towards ourselves and others. With each recitation of the phrases, we're expressing an intention, planting the seeds of loving wishes over and over in our heart. With a loving heart as the background, all that we attempt, all that we encounter will open and flow more easily. So beginning with yourself, breathing gently, and reciting inwardly the following traditional phrases directed to your own well-being. We begin with yourself because without loving yourself, it's almost impossible to truly love others. So repeating these phrases in your own mind. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at ease and happy. As you repeat these phrases, picture yourself as you are now and hold that image in a heart of loving kindness. If it's difficult to feel love for yourself now, maybe picturing yourself as a young child. Just adjust the words and images in any way that you'd like to, creating the exact phrases that best open your heart of kindness. And repeating these phrases of love and kindness toward yourself, letting the feelings permeate your body and mind. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at ease and happy. And as you feel this loving kindness toward yourself, beginning to turn some of that love toward others, expanding your meditation out into the world. And so sending thoughts of love and kindness out to all beings, all people, everyone we know, everyone we don't know. Maybe picturing who the intention is for, those we know well and those we don't. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be safe from inner and outer dangers. May you be well in body and mind. And may you be at ease and happy. May all people be filled with loving kindness. May all people be safe from inner and outer dangers. May all people be well in body and mind. May all people be at ease and happy. And just allowing our thoughts to drift to those we send this loving kindness to. Slowly beginning to deepen our breath. Beginning to move our fingers and toes, bringing our awareness back to our physical bodies. As we slowly roll over onto our side, bringing all of that loving kindness with us toward ourselves and toward others. Just bringing that energy, that love out into the world. Gently begin to press ourselves up to seated, sitting comfortably and tall, taking a moment here just to reflect on our practice. Grateful for these bodies that we have. I'm thankful for them exactly where they are today. Grateful that we took the time to be here today to do something good for our bodies, something good for our minds, something that's just for us. Once more as we inhale, sweeping our hands overhead, bringing our palms together and exhaling our hands to our hearts. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you.